platform, you can log in by either getting a magic link or you just authenticate using Google. So once you're signed in, you get to see your dashboard, which displays certain metrics. It shows the total analysis, the active project, the success rates from using the Opentender AI, and then the time saved, the average improvement rate, and then also the average response score. And then you have some quick actions to start a new analysis, upload documents to Tenderbank, or perform other quick actions. And also it gives you like a list of your recent activities. So we have the project tab, which basically gives you all the details of the project that this Congress company is working on. So you get to see all the projects, and then you can filter based on status. And then you can also have a full um information about the project, the name, location, the budget, and other metrics about the project. And one of the core features of the Open Data area is a tender bank, which basically serves as a central hub, like a repository of all the successful past tenders. And then from this tender bank, it's able to help refine the responses. So you get to see all the information. You can click on them to get more details about each of these documents and resources in the tender bank. And then one feature we have is where you can just, based on all the information, the documents, you can just ask some questions in and then it would look through the tender bank and paste it here and then send it. And then this goes through the tender bank, and then it gives some key information leveraging on the data that is from the tender bank. So this is one of the features that is existing on the Open Tender AI. And then aside that, we have the analysis, which is like the core function of the platform. So when you come to the analysis tab, you can start a new analysis. So what you have to do is to pass in the URL of the tender that you are reviewing and want to submit. And then also it picks the company ID, and then you select the project to which this tender is related to. And then at this point, you get to put in the URLs of previous tenders that are not currently in the tender bank that you want the AI to use as context and refine the responses. So you can add them more. Then it starts the process. So it happens in different stages. And the first stage is the document processing. So at this stage, it's extracting all the information from the tender documents that was submitted, and it's going to extract the questions, the responses, the evaluation criteria, and the summary. So as you can see, it's still loading. It's showing it is processing, and the numbers of questions is still zero at this point. So we're going to get the response shortly. So the response is returned for the first stage. The document is fully processed and the information has been extracted. So we get to see the different questions that was highlighted in the tender and then their responses. So for each of the question, you also get the response. This is the current response before the AI does the analysis, evaluation, and refinement. So for each of the question, you get the answer, which is the response that was passed in for the question. And then also you get to see the core requirements, that's the evaluation criteria grouped in different stages. And then also you get to see the requirement summary, which essentially is just a summary of the tender, the core information, the requirements, and all the key insights on the tender. So the next step after this is the initial assessment. So it does an initial assessment based on the tender and then gives it a score. So for this tender, it's given the score of 50, the grade, and then the number of sections that was analyzed. And then it gives like a summary of why it was given a score of 50, and it highlights the strengths, the area of improvement, and then also it gives the breakdown, the executive summary. It gives some analysis and some insights, and also some recommendations. And then it also highlights the key improvement areas, and then also the competitive positioning. So this is the review based on the initial assessments. So now that the document processing is done, the initial assessment is also completed. It moves to the next stage, which is the response refinement. So this is loading. And, so yes, so this stage, it's basically just optimizing the response. It uses the LLM calls, and also it's based on the successful tender patterns and the writing style analysis. So this is loading, it's in progress. We're gonna get the final um, response based on the refined values for each of the questions. So the refinement is completed. So 15 responses were refined. So what it does is it goes through the question and then it highlights the questions that are the most important, the most critical questions that would play a huge role in the successful acceptance of the bid. So it highlights the top 15 of those questions and then it refines the response based on the context and then shares the data back to the users. So based on the refinements, there was some improvement, which is that's 86%, and then also the quality. And then so it for each of those questions, gives the response. So this was the initial response, and then this is the AIS enhanced response. So a couple of them, so the user can check through each of this responses, review them, make changes where necessary, and have the inputs based on that. So, and also if the user is not satisfied with any of this response, they can also make a subsequent call to refine the response. So this is the question, this is the current AI response. So you can give a refinement instruction. Do you want it more specific? Do you want it more technical? Or do you want to adjust the tone? You can do that here. So I'm just going to pass a sample prompt to make it more concrete with some technical details. And then click on refine the response. So now we see the response is being refined to be more technical and then more concrete, and then the user can then use the value based on this refined response. So the next stage of this is so once the user is fully satisfied with all of the user response, then they move into the next stage, which is the performance analysis. So it's just basically gives a stat based on the AI processes. So it shows the numbers of questions that were enhanced and then also the impact, the confidence level, and then the boosts. So initially, based on the initial assessment, it was rated at 50 over 100. And now, based on the refinements, it's now at a score of 69. So it gives a summary and then also the changes in terms of statistics. And then lastly, we have the final reports. So the final report just gives you uh, the revamped document, which basically identify each of those questions that needs to be refined and then have them uh, submitted to the AI to make the changes. And now everything has been updated to fit with the AI refined responses that better puts the company at the highest chance of getting a successful uh, results based on this tender. So it gives you the stats, and then this is the final documents, which the user can then edit, make any changes necessary. They can copy it to share, or they can download it. So this is just a quick demo of the platform.